We continue to discuss the program to recode prepaid meters with the deadline just hours away. We're joined by energy analyst Chris Yelland. Good afternoon, Mr. Yelland. Thank you very much for joining us on the program. You know, it's just been scenes of panic since yesterday at the staking queues, with some customers claiming they were actually not aware that they needed to recode their meters. Your views on just how this whole process has been managed?
Well, I don't buy the argument that they're not aware of it. Eskom has been talking about this recoding of the meters for about a year now, and it's received widespread coverage in the media. Apparently, I mean, what Eskom is basically saying is just go out and buy a token of electricity for your meter, and at the same time, you will receive a token to reprogram your meter. The real issue... Yeah,
pardon me for interjecting there. If we're going to say we don't buy that some of them were not aware, what do you think would have been the intention then? Because yes, in as much as we, even as the public broadcaster, have engaged with Eskom on numerous occasions where they explained at length what must happen, one wonders if we're seeing the elderly who honestly are stating that they were not aware. One wonders then maybe there was another form of communication that should have taken place, where some of them were just overwhelmed by all this exclusionary language. We're talking about KRNs and the transition and recoding, that perhaps the elderly honestly were overwhelmed. They don't understand.
No, I don't think it's that. I think there's another much bigger issue that I'd like to explain. Eskom have indicated, and the minister indicated at the last media briefing, that there are about 2 million meters out there out of a total of 7 million. 2 million, that's about 30%, that have not had tokens bought for a long, long time. And therefore, these 2 million meters are either tampered with or broken or damaged or interfered with, or that people are buying electricity from ghost vendors. And they are not wanting to go and do this upgrade process, because that will re-register them with Eskom. And Eskom, a side effect of this whole thing is that Eskom and municipalities are identifying millions of customers that are getting electricity vended free as a result of theft or non-payment or fraud. And I think therein lies the big problem. It is really simple. All you have to do is go and buy a token for electricity. If you cannot fix your meter, if you cannot load it, then it means your meter is either broken or tampered with or interfered with, or you're buying from ghost vendors. All that has to be done, as I say, is go and buy a token. That's the message, not that I'm putting out. That's the message that the minister and Eskom have been putting out. This issue has identified a fundamental underlying problem, that a very large number of people with prepayment meters are not paying for electricity.
So now we have a situation where a large number of people are lining up their snaking queues all over the country, and there's a possibility that some of them might not be assisted on Sunday, so there are calls for an extension of that deadline. Just talk to us about the technical challenge in attempting to delay the changeover of the meters to KRN2.
Yeah, the thing is that this deadline cannot be changed. This is not a politically set or a management set deadline. This is a deadline set by a software bug in the software of these meters that use what is known as the STS, the Standard Transfer Specification Protocol, which is the standard protocol for all Eskom and municipal prepayment meters in South Africa. Just to give you an analogy, this is similar in principle to the problem that was had at the year 2000. You may remember that a lot of software couldn't cater for the rollover into the new year. Well, there's a particular register within a prepayment meter that it's to do with the numbering of the tokens that get issued, and this register has reached a limit and is going to roll over. And this is going to cause an issue where the meters stop working. So it's not a deadline that is set by the minister or Eskom. It's a bug related to the rollover of a register within the meter. So it's not a deadline that can be extended by the minister or by Eskom or the municipality.
Then too, notice public hearings on Eskom's proposed increase. Communities have been making representations across the board. They're having none of it. They're saying 36% is absolutely unaffordable. Your views on this?
It is absolutely unaffordable. And remember, it's not just 36%. If you look at it, it is 66% in total over the next 3 years, because there's a price increase on the 1st of April next year, and then another increase the next year, and another increase the next year. And if you look at this over 3 years, it's a 66% increase in electricity over the next 3 years. This is something like, I mean, just the 36% increase next year is about 9 times the inflation rate, 9 times. This is going to have a devastating impact, not only on the poor. Of course, it's going to have a huge impact on the poor, but it's going to have an impact on middle class, upper class, commercial, industrial, mining, chemical companies, farmers, and agriculture. It's going to have a significant inflationary knock-on, and it's going to make electricity fundamentally unaffordable. As a side issue, it's going to make the business case for alternative energy better and better. Eskom seem to think they can solve all their problems by putting up the price. The reality is they are just driving their customers away to alternative forms of energy.
But not everybody has the option to move to alternative forms of energy. It's those who can afford the solar or battery storage or any kind of energy.
Exactly.
So it means the poorest will still be stuck with Eskom, and unfortunately they'll pay an arm and a leg for it.
That's right, and that's why there is massive opposition, including, I submitted comments on behalf of OUTA. I'm the energy advisor for the organization Undoing Tax Abuse, and I submitted the comments on behalf of OUTA in the NERSA public process, in which we really highlight the fact that Eskom is trying to solve its problems by putting up the price. To make their prices, they call it cost reflective. But you can also make your prices cost reflective by reducing your costs. And Eskom don't seem to focus on that. They seem to only focus on increasing the price.
But there's also the real problem. There's 90 billion in debt that Eskom is owed by municipalities. What do they do with this?
Yeah, it's posing a very serious financial threat to Eskom. And, yes, municipalities owe Eskom 90 billion rand. Eskom owes its lenders 450 billion rand. Now, that 90 billion rand would go some way towards easing, Eskom's own debt repayment problems. Eskom is severely in debt, and the impact of this debt is they cannot meet the interest and repayment from their operating revenue, and they therefore have to get a bailout from government amounting to some 50 billion rand a year. Because they're not covering their costs. Well, the one thing to do they should do is reduce their costs, but they also want to put up their prices. But at the end of the day, the municipal debt problem to Eskom is compounding Eskom's debt problem to its lenders.
Now, Mr. Yelland, how important is it for community members to participate in this process, or at least these public hearings by NERSA?
Well, it is very important that, if you just sit back and expect somebody else to do it on your behalf, you might be disappointed. And I know there is a lot of criticism sometimes that people make input and it doesn't have any impact. But I don't think that's really true. If you look at the past, NERSA, the regulator, has been under a lot of pressure from electricity customers not to give Eskom the electricity price increases that they're asking for. And this is no different this time round. NERSA has never given Eskom what it asked for. It's always given them substantially less. Yeah. The Minister of Electricity even said in his last media briefing that this price increase is unacceptable to government, and that government is going to be making representations to the regulator. Remember, the regulator is independent. The government is going to be making representations to the regulator that this 36% increase on the 1st of April next year is outrageously high.
All right. Mr. Yelland, thank you very much for your insights this afternoon. That's Chris Yelland. He's an energy analyst speaking to us.